10 things. I'm finished. Number one. Here's what. Number one. Search to find the root of the doubt. If you once had faith, but now you're struggling with it, something happened. Maybe it was a trauma. Like I told you, maybe it's something that, many of you who watch this thing with the R. Kelly series, you can understand perhaps why some of the alleged victims and parents may be like, God, what's up? Because you can search and find the root of it. I was talking to my barber, and we was talking about a young lady who works at the salon they used to be in, and she's no longer there, right? She stopped coming. She changed jobs. And he told me she got married. And the guy that she married had some kind of faith where he didn't want her around any other ethnic people other than black people. And guess what? She quit the job because she can't be around nothing that's been created by anybody who's not black. She can't have no communication or any influence or contact with nothing that's black. So she quit the job because it was multicultural. And I said to him, he said, so she can't be around nothing. I said, let me ask you a question. So what kind of toothpaste you use? What kind of car she drive? What kind of clothes? Where does she live? Does she go to the mall? Because it's the only thing you can't have no contact, no influence with nothing. Then, and guess what I realized? So she's now disconnected from her faith with God, but guess what? You can search and find the root of it. Because that's what she did. She put the boyfriend at the beginning. Sometimes trauma, sometimes people. Sometimes the wrong folk in your ear could be the ones that lead you on that path, and now you used to be closer, but now something disappointed you. A person in the church, somebody said, and now you're slowly moving away. But you got to find out, when did the breach take place? When did you stop? When did you stop praying? When did you stop? What happened? Number two. Determine your unmet expectations. A lot of times we disconnect from God because some expectations were unmet. Can I help y'all? This thing blessed me big time. I discovered this: if you're married, if you're trying to be married, on a job, there are only 2 reasons that you have trouble in your relationship. So next time you go to a counselor, she can't cook. I don't want to be with a pastor, he's slow and sorry. We on the same page. We got different goals. We fell apart. The kids, the money, another lady, she with another man. There are only 2 causes of problems in relationships. In every relationship, there are only 2 things wrong. Can I tell you what those 2 things are wrong? Number 1, expecting what you don't find. Number 2, finding what you don't expect. That's tweetable. Every problem in your relationship, everything hinges on one of those 2 things: expecting what you don't find, or finding what you don't expect. Every problem, every issue. Expecting what you don't find, finding don't expect. Next time you have somebody talk to your girlfriend, tell them, expecting what you don't find, finding don't expect. You expecting him to pay bill. And I stay home and play PlayStation all day while you go out and get it. You found out he loved you and Billy Joe. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. Expecting what you don't find, finding. Come here. Guess what? It's the same with God. We have certain expectations of God. What happens when God doesn't meet our expectations? When God don't meet your expectations, just like a human being, it can cause you disconnect, cause you disappointment. Or since I got with God, I'm expecting this. Or I'm with God, I know it's going to work out. Now I find out being with God don't mean everything going to be smooth. Expecting what you don't find or finding what expect. Okay? Now I'm not saying this to be ugly about anything. I'm just saying these are the problems when you don't know. Finding, what you don't expect what you don't find. Guess what? Here's my question. What expectation did you have of God that God didn't meet? Are you internally angry with God because you expected something that you didn't find? I want you to talk about that. Number three. Y'all don't like me. Keep living with the faith you do have. So what do you do when your faith is shaken? Keep walking in that faith that you've been walking in. In other words, don't turn your back on the faith that's brought you to this point, even if it's shaken. Shaken faith is better than no faith. Y'all remember the movie John Q? Well, Denzel played straight. He went straight bankhead on them folk in the hospital, didn't he? Y'all remember John Q? His son got sick, was trying to have a transplant, right? Heart transplant, and he didn't have the insurance. He went straight bankhead. He went straight ghetto roll on them people. Y'all remember that? Right? And he had a conversation with the police chief, and he said, John, faith now, this thing blessed me. He said, John, faith is believing, even when you don't want to believe. Because faith is, this is Dewey, believing in the already in the midst of the not yet. I'm almost finished. Let me keep going. Number four. I'm almost finished. Affirm what you do believe. Here's a good point. Some of you are disconnected from your spouse. I can't stand them. I want to leave the marriage. Here's everything wrong. Okay? Stop telling the counselor everything that's wrong. Make a list about what you do believe. Why do people always focus on what they don't believe? Don't tell them what you don't believe. Don't tell them what God hasn't done. Don't tell me what you're not. Don't tell me what you're still waiting on. Instead of keep complaining about what you no longer believe, what you're struggling with, tell me what you do. Don't keep telling me the prayers God didn't answer. Tell me the ones God did. Yeah, you about to leave that. The best thing ever happened to you. Lance Watson, my mentor, told me one time he was going through something with his wife and went to see his mama. He had this whole list about Rose. They've been together since he was 16, growing up in Detroit. He had this whole list of stuff that he didn't like about Rose, his wife. And she said, son, now tell me what you do like. What made you get with her when she was 15 years old? Lance, I started rattling off the stuff. Mama was, before she died, she was rattling off stuff. And Lance said, his wife looked at him and said, well, baby, that sounds like she at least 85 out of 100. She said, you do know a B is still passing. What you're doing is you tripping over the 15 or 20% she ain't got. So because she ain't got 15, 20%, you out trying to find the 15 or 20% she ain't got. What you might end up doing is finding the 15 and 20%, and that's all they got. And you're going to mess around and lose the 80 and 85% that you do got. So stop focusing on what you ain't got and affirm what you do. Oh, y'all don't like what I'm saying? You don't like what I'm saying? I know it's tight, but it's right. So many of us have almost killed everything, searching for what ain't there. Instead of affirming. You mean to tell me all the stuff God has done in your life, you're going to let 2 unanswered prayers eradicate everything? You mean to tell me every time God has awakened you for 40 years, every time God has kept you in your right mind, and you're going to let one bad chapter in your life eliminate everything? God, what is wrong? If you look back over your life. Everything might not be the way you want it to be, but you ought to be able to testify it could be the other way, because it's still good. My good days still outweigh. Let me keep going. Let me five. Y'all give me 5 minutes. Listen. Practice forgiveness. I kept researching that, and I found out this. Sometimes our disconnect with God is rooted in the fact that we're disconnected from somebody else. So since you say I ain't talking to them, God says, cool, I ain't talking to you. Since you won't forgive them, cool, I won't forgive you, because you're supposed to forgive them as I forgive. And forgiveness does not mean you got to restore it. Forgiveness don't mean it's got to be like it used to. Matter of fact, forgiveness don't mean you ever got to talk again. Let me correct that. But it does mean that the stuff you had in your heart that you don't wish bad on nobody, that you can put them in God's hand and start your life anew. So if you regard iniquity in your heart, God won't hear you. I'm almost finished. Number 6. Realize that having doubts can be normal. You're not abnormal because you're struggling. From Moses to Jeremiah to Elijah to Jesus, they all had crises of faith. It's okay. You're not abnormal. You're not dysfunctional. Number 7, realize that struggle often deepens your faith. So the darkness, the struggles, could be the exact thing that God is using to take your faith to another level. Number 8, check yourself for unrepentant sin. Maybe the disconnect with God is because you got some stuff you're still liking, stuff you're still connected to, some people that you ain't repented from. And it's grown from a molehill to a mountain. And now it's disconnected you. Number 9, embrace mystery. What does that mean? God is the mysterium tremendum, God is called, which means that you don't have to understand the mysteries. Faith is about mystery. It wouldn't be faith if there was no mystery. Know that your God controls the mysteries. Number 10, say what you want to say to God. You know the main problem with us? We've been taught that you can't be honest with God. You can't question God. That's my grandma. Can't question God. Just accept it. So we shut up with God. Here's what happened. Our parents taught us, when I tell you something, shut up and don't say nothing to me. Let's be honest. Stand down and shut up. Mama, why can't? Bam! You're being disrespectful. I just want to know why the electricity come. Now, you don't knock my baby teeth out. I'm just trying to ask you what. I'm just. We were not allowed to question our parents because they took it as disrespect, even if the question was to learn something. So when our boys and girls get older, they're afraid to talk to us about their bodies because we create this environment of stuff. You don't talk to me. Shut up. Birds and the bees. Because I said so. Right? So what they did is they superimposed that on God. And God ain't never told us, shut up, be quiet. Because I said so. Bam. God never said that. Matter of fact, God loves it when we talk to him. Even Jesus said, my God, why are you forsaken? Right? The fact that some of us can't just come out clean with God is you're carrying stuff because you've never given God your feelings. And as a consequence, God is saying, tell me how you feel. Cast your cares on me. When last time you had a real heart-to-heart with God?